What's happening, Bills Mafia? Ryan Thomas here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Of course, coming to you live on Wednesday nights. Usually I do like to hop on at 8 o'clock, a little bit late. Obviously, I'm here at 9, but hey, better late than never as I hop on the podcast tonight to dive into the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs, AFC Divisional Round matchup. Really excited to dive into this one. I provided my post-game analysis on the Buffalo Bills wild card round, which you get little tidbits of as, I work through this show, of course, but really wanted to kind of separate the shows. Sunday, had a podcast, dove into what took place between the Bills and Steelers. Wednesday, wanted to fully dive into what I expect for the Buffalo Bills matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's get right to it. Of course, the Bills advance to the AFC Divisional Round for the 4th straight season. This will be the 6th time that the Bills and Chiefs will be playing against one another in a pivotal matchup, of course, in the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes rivalry era. Plenty more coming up on that in a moment, but providing an analysis on both of these teams, as I'll be doing here on this podcast tonight, Buffalo Bills versus Kansas City Chiefs, preview and prediction. Of course, you guys are tuning in on any and all audio podcasting platforms, as well as my Facebook page, Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Most importantly, YouTube. You guys can subscribe to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast on YouTube. And this episode is sponsored by 26shirts.com. Go to 26shirts.com, find all awesome shirts, Buffalo related, at 26shirts.com and store locations throughout Western New York. So, of course, thank you very much for tuning in, hopping on. Of course, you're also tuning in on a very special avenue of this podcast, that is the Buffalo Fanbase podcast YouTube channel, as well as the Twitter. So let's get right to it. People want to hear my take. It is a preview and prediction. No fast forwarding to predictions. I got to provide you with an in-depth analysis type preview first and foremost. And my first bit of the preview is, number one, what would I like to say about these two teams in comparison to previous matchups between these two teams. Number one, this is not the same old Bills. Number two, this is definitely not the same old Chiefs. Previous years, both of these teams were led with offensive type juggernaut type offenses. This year, very different. The Chiefs are more of a defensive oriented team. Chiefs defense has played very well all season long. And I always like to stay within a lane of what is the real matchup. Is it Buffalo's defense versus Kansas City's offense? Is it Buffalo's offense versus Kansas City's defense? I take the latter on this one, because Buffalo's offense has been much better this season than the Kansas City Chiefs offense. And that comes even after the Ken Dorsey firing, switching to Joe Brady. Buffalo's offense has been far better than that of the Kansas City Chiefs. So I do believe that this is Buffalo's offense versus Kansas City's defense. And when you look at what Kansas City did last week against Miami, essentially neutralizing Miami's offense entirely, forcing Miami to play from behind really early and often in that game. So Josh Allen is a big focal point of this game, but it's not just any other game. With what's at stake, legacy is at stake. Legacy is at stake. Anytime you have two pillars of the league at the game's most important position going head-to-head against one another, and that being Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes this time around, those are the two best quarterbacks right now as it stands in the NFL. I think kids that are in high school right now are debating who's better, Pat Mahomes or Josh Allen. When I was in high school, it was Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. Which one was better? And that's the same conversation that each era has within itself. And that's why these matchups are even more crucial, because realistically, I do believe with this game here, whoever comes away as the winner between Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills and Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, in my heart of hearts, I believe that that team will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. And I know that you guys are going to say seed matters. Each team will have to go to Baltimore if Baltimore gets past the Texans, which I don't think is as easy as what most fans think. The Texans just beat the living snot out of the Cleveland Browns. C.J. Stroud has been hot essentially all season long, so anything can happen in the NFL playoff. But I do believe if I were to do a pick 'em, no matter who Buffalo plays next week or who Kansas City plays next week, but Buffalo plays next week, whether they play Baltimore, I think they can beat Baltimore. Whether they play the Texans, I think they can definitely beat the Texans. So whoever wins this game, in my opinion, will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. That's how pivotal this game is. And much like this past week between the Bills and Steelers, Josh Allen had to be at his absolute best. He had to be at his top-tier level, MVP caliber, putting the offense on my back type player. And there were moments where the game got a little bit too close for comfort for me against the Steelers. I won't lie, but that is playoff football. But Josh Allen consistently, once again, put that game in his hands and made plays that, once again, that nobody can make. So that no one could even attempt to make. So whether it's attempting, crazy throws, whether it's running for 52 yards down the field, this was really a game where Josh Allen had to be at his best. And he's going to need to be even better than that playing against the Kansas City Chiefs. As good as the Steelers defense has been this year, the Chiefs defense has been phenomenal this season. They've been one of the best defenses in the NFL. So key to victory here, shocker, spoiler alert, Josh Allen has to play well, but he has to play beyond well in this game. He has to play out of his mind like he did a few years back, leading the Bills to victory, if not for the 13 seconds defense, allowing the Chiefs to get down the field, tie the game, and then losing that toss and allowing the Chiefs to win the game. So I think that's going to be front of mind for Josh Allen heading into this one. And I think it's going to be front of mind for Patrick Mahomes. Both of these guys, we're going to see their talent level do things that they don't do on any given week, but do things beyond what they do on any given week due to the fact that they're playing against one another. So as well, Buffalo's defense is important in this one. And I'd be remiss to state how, to me, once again, I say this, every week, but I think this last week proved it more than any other. Buffalo's defense is really the story, the true story of this season. And it's what's allowed the Bills to be competitive from 6-6 to 11-6, beyond competitive, running the table of the AFC essentially from 6-6 to 11-6, winning the AFC East, winning the AFC wildcard round matchup against the Steelers last week. Guys stepping up that you'd least expect. A.J. Klein led the team in tackles last week, filling in for Terrell Bernard. Thoughts and prayers go out to Bernard. No broken bones, but definitely battling through an injury. And that middle of the field is going to be very big. That injury to Terrell Bernard, someone is going to have to step up, especially in terms of coverage ability at the linebacker position, because the Chiefs love to utilize the middle of the field. They love to utilize whether it's Rashee Rice over the middle or especially Travis Kelce, who I think will be coming into this one with a big point to prove that he is not done, much like his brother announcing his retirement yesterday. He is far from done. So that's a huge loss to this defense. And hopefully that's something that the Bills can kind of just say next man up and they can combat that. But eventually, as I said, last week, somebody is going to have to continuously step up, and they're getting thinner and thinner on defense, which is worrisome for a Bills fan like me and a Bills fan like you guys out there, ladies and gents, tuning in at home. So, of course, my prediction is that the Bills will win this game. And I think that it comes down to the one main fact of the matter in previous history moments, that this is the first away game for Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And it's not just any other away game. It's against the Buffalo Bills. And yes, that does matter. You can throw out any corny analogy. Bills Mafia, 75,000 strong. Those are the ones I'll give to you, that Pat Mahomes has never faced anything like that in his playoff NFL career ever, let alone a home field advantage that I think is one of the best home field advantages in the NFL. You look at the Buffalo Bills' home record the last few years, especially in this Josh Allen era, it's as pristine a home record as any other team has. So I think that's a big factor in this game. The fact that Bills Mafia will be there cheering on the Bills is massive, number one. But number two, if this defense gets off to a hot start like they have previously at home, like they had previously last week, with big stops, maybe some passes batted down, a forced fumble, an interception, that can really suck the life out of the team that is playing against the Bills in Orchard Park, New York. And I think that's a big factor in this one. If Buffalo can get an early defensive takeaway, that can really help suck the life early out of this Kansas City Chiefs offense, which needs big plays in order to move the football. This is a big play offense, not necessarily a dink and dunk offense like it had been in previous seasons, methodically moving the football. This team has made their money in chunk plays, Mahomes to Rashee Rice, Mahomes to Travis Kelce, and Mahomes, being quite honest with you, this is probably statistically one of the worst, if not the worst year of his career as a starter. It's been a great year for him, but just taking the fantasy analogy here to it, projected to be the best, or second best fantasy quarterback to Allen. Josh Allen, number one fantasy quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, the 11th best fantasy quarterback in my leagues. So that just goes to show you that this Kansas City Chiefs offense is spread a little thin. They're missing a top flight wide receiver by the name of Tyreek Hill that they traded a couple years back. They've needed to spread the football around, move the football around methodically in different ways that they hadn't before, establish this run game, make the run game more of a part of this offense. I don't believe it's worked as well as they had hoped. And I think it's worked to the effect of beating some of the teams that they needed to beat in the regular season, not the Bills, beating some of the teams that they needed to beat in the playoffs last week, the Dolphins, not the Bills. So there's levels to this, right? There's great teams, there's good teams. This is the matchup where we're going to find out which team is great, which team is just good. And when the two best of the best go head to head in Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes, it's one of those games that elevates one team to another level and knocks another team down to another level. And this is a matchup that the Bills have lost 3 straight playoff games against the Chiefs. It's time to right the ship here. We've won in the regular season against them 3 times straight, lost to them in the postseason 3 times straight. So this is the matchup here that we have worked, we the players, we the fans, we have been on this journey with the players and the organization to lead us to this moment, which is as massive a moment as any. And we're to the point where we have to win this game at all costs. Throw the situational analytics out of it. If it's 4th and short and we're on the other side of the 40, you go for it. If the Chiefs decide to go for it, that's obviously that's up to us to stop it, right? So be on the lookout for Andy Reid to throw any trick up his sleeve that he's got, because that's the type of coach he is in these moments. And Sean McDermott has to be prepared to do the exact same thing. News today as well out of One Bills Drive does pertain to this team. I hope it doesn't have to pertain to the team too much, but the punt game, in the sense that Sam Martin is going to be out for this one, injured his hamstring, and Matt Hack will be back as the punter for the Buffalo Bills from 2021, brought back for the 2023-2024 playoff, essentially, season. So this is a move that, they needed to get a punter to replace Sam Martin. They bring back a guy that they had before, not a guy that I'm too crazy about. I know that they let him go for a reason. They moved on from him for a reason to draft Matt Araiza. That whole situation materialized the way that it did. I have been a proponent of trying to bring Matt Araiza back in the future, whether that's 2024 or not. But at the same time, I could talk about the fact they added Matt Hack. I introduced that topic saying that I hope the punt game is not even a factor in this one. I hope the punt game doesn't even matter in this game. It shouldn't. With the ability that the Buffalo Bills offense has, we should not be punting. We should only be kicking field goals or, of course, scoring touchdowns on a regular basis. And this offense, man, I tell you, I think this is the best supporting cast that Josh Allen has ever had. And I'm not just talking wide receivers and tight ends. Up front, best offensive line the Bills have had in a long time. I'm talking 5, 10, maybe 15, maybe 20 years. Rushing attack, best run game the Bills have had since Shady McCoy, Fred Jackson, Marshawn Lynch, those guys. Those are years where we had a great run game, right? Great running backs. But this run game is suited solely for today. There's guys in this backfield that are a great mix. James Cook, Ty Johnson, Latavius Murray as it stands now that Leonard Fournette has also been released to make room for Matt Hack as their punter for this game. So big, to know that Josh Allen has the security blankets that he does in the run game as well as in the pass game. Dawson Knox had a touchdown last week. Dalton Kincaid, the rookie sensation, continues this takeover tour of the tight end position as a rookie in the National Football League, which this was a pick that many Bills fans were confused by. They didn't understand it. You understand it now. Great outlet for Josh Allen, security blanket for Josh Allen, and a guy that is as sure-handed a tight end as any in the National Football League. And I'm saying all these things knowing full well that he is a rookie, of course. So pretty great, right? To be able to break franchise records as a rookie, most receptions as a rookie, most receptions, of course, by a tight end as a rookie, and most receptions by a tight end in Bills history. A lot of records being broken by Dalton Kincaid in his rookie year. And to see it blossom further in the playoffs is really huge for this team. So adds that extra X factor that when Stephon is double teamed, we got outlets. Khalil Shakir, cannot forget to mention the Energizer Bunny, the Tasmanian Devil, whatever I want to refer to him as, that touchdown run. He had eyes on the side and the back of his head, avoiding and evading the defense. So this was a great moment for this game. Khalil Shakir's touchdown last week catapulted the Bills, put that sigh of relief in the lungs of every Bills Mafia fan, Bills Mafia member, I should say. And he is as worthy of getting more opportunities as anybody, as Diggs, as Kincaid, as Cook. More of that. Plenty more of that. Please, plenty more of that. So I've really enjoyed seeing this team evolve since this 6-6 moment. And it's not just due to the consistent winning. Obviously, that's a big part of it. But to see this team win in complete form and fashion, that's the key among any other, is if the Bills can play complete football, offensively, defensively, and special teams. It sounds so vague, and it sounds like coach speak in terms of complementary football. We've heard that before. But I can honestly tell you that it took the Bills a long time to get to this point of playing this level of football in all three phases of the game. In this McDermott era, definitely prior to the McDermott era, post Marv Levy, between Levy and obviously McDermott, playing complementary football was something that happened few and far between for the Buffalo Bills. And to see it consistently with 6-6 as our record, our backs were against the wall. seeing this team battle back, win the AFC East, massive for their future playoff run here. And I do believe that there is a chance any given Saturday, Sunday playoff week that the Texans could beat the Ravens. And if the Bills take care of business against the Chiefs and the Texans beat the Ravens, Bills would be hosting the AFC Championship game in Orchard Park, New York. So that would be a hell of a scenario, just to show you how important it was to win that game against Miami. Win and you're in. You're the 2 seed with potential home field advantage, depending on the matchups, all throughout the playoffs. Thank you so much for tuning in. Score prediction. I'm going 34-28. Buffalo gets it done against Kansas City. Josh Allen with an epic performance in a heavyweight title fight against Pat Mahomes. Greatly looking forward to this one. Of course, Sunday, 6:30 Eastern time. I'll be sure to break it down once it's all over right here on the Buffalo Fanbase Podcast Network, as well the Thomas Take Sports Podcast streaming platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and any and all audio podcasting platforms. Subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. Last and certainly not least, go Bills.